The silent departure. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Alliance gleamed with artificial starlight that danced across its crystalline dome. Below, representatives of 500 species occupied tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. The air hummed with translation devices, and the subtle sense of diverse alien biologies mingled in the carefully regulated atmosphere. Ambassador Elena Chen stood perfectly still at the center of the hall, her face a mask of professional composure, despite the storm brewing inside her. For 3 hours, she had listened as the High Council systematically dismantled every human proposal, dismissing their requests with thinly veiled condescension. The human petition for access to gravitational manipulation technology is denied, announced Vorlath, the towering mantis-like speaker of the council. His multifaceted eyes gleamed with something close to satisfaction. Their history of conflict makes such powerful tools inadvisable in their hands. Elena felt her deputy, Dr. Marcus Wong, shift slightly beside her. His data tablet reflected the same message they had received 5 times today. Request denied. Next to him, Commander Sarah Okonkwo, their military liaison, remained statue still, though Elena knew the woman well enough to sense her controlled fury. Perhaps, continued Vorlath, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among his kind, humans might focus on managing their own planetary ecosystems before aspiring to manipulate gravity itself. Ripples of laughter spread through certain sections of the assembly. The Uthari delegation openly chittered, their feathered crests rising in amusement. The Zordax representatives rumbled their approval through vibrating throat sacs. 20 years. 20 years of humanity playing by their rules. 20 years of sharing human art, music, literature, and scientific discoveries. 20 years of being treated like clever pets rather than equals. Something hardened in Elena's chest. She exchanged a quick glance with Marcus and Sarah, who both gave her the slightest of nods. They had discussed this contingency, though none had expected to implement it today. Speaker Vorlath, Elena said, her voice calm but cutting through the ambient noise of the chamber. I request formal recognition to address the assembly. Vorlath tilted his angular head, compound eyes reflecting the ambient light in fractured patterns. The human ambassador is recognized. Elena stepped forward, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. She wore the formal black uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, unadorned except for a small pin bearing Earth's symbol, a blue sphere embraced by silver olive branches. For 20 years, she began, her voice measured and clear, humanity has participated in the Galactic Alliance. We have contributed to collective medical research, shared our cultural heritage, offered our unique perspectives, and followed every regulation imposed upon us. She paused, surveying the alien faces that surrounded her. Some looked curious, others bored, a few openly hostile. For 20 years, we have asked only to be treated as equals at this table. Today's proceedings have made it abundantly clear that equality was never your intention. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Vorlath's antennae twitched forward in surprise. Therefore, I am hereby announcing humanity's complete withdrawal from the Galactic Alliance, effective immediately. The chamber erupted. Delegates rose from their seats, translation devices struggling to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. Vorlath raised his forelimbs for silence, but Elena continued before order could be restored. Earth and all human colonies will be closed to Alliance traffic as of 800 hours Universal Standard Time tomorrow. Our embassies will be vacated. Our trade agreements are terminated. Our scientific collaborations are ended. Ambassador Chen. Vorlath's voice cut through the chaos. This is a hasty and irrational decision. Perhaps after a cooling period. Our decision is final. Elena interrupted, something humanity rarely dared to do in these chambers. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. Kvex, the bulbous representative of the technologically advanced Zordax, released a rumbling laugh that vibrated through the floor. And how does humanity expect to survive without our protection? The void between stars is dangerous for primitive species who have barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Elena allowed herself the smallest smile. I suppose we'll find out. She turned to her team. We're done here. As they walked toward the exit, the assembly dissolved into shouting and arguments. Some members called for them to stop. Others argued with their neighbors. A few, not many, but a few, watched with expressions that might have been worry. Lieutenant Aisha Parker, the youngest member of the Earth delegation, caught up with them in the corridor outside. Ma'am, are we really leaving just like that? Elena nodded. Sometimes you need to know when to walk away from a bad deal, Lieutenant. But what happens now? Aisha asked, her eyes wide. Commander Okonkwo allowed herself a rare smile. Now we do what humans have always done when backed into a corner. We innovate, Dr. Wong finished. Behind them in the assembly hall, Elder Trivak of the Mithrani observed the human delegation's departure and leaned toward his aide. They'll come crawling back within a month. Their colonies won't last 2 cycles without Alliance protection from the Drex raiders. His aide, younger and less certain, shifted uncomfortably. But what if they don't return, Elder? Trivak snorted, his breathing sacs inflating briefly. Where would they go? What would they do? They're alone now. Far above the Alliance Central Station, the Earth diplomatic vessel powered its engines without requesting departure clearance. In the command center, Elena watched the massive station shrink on the view screen. Send the message to Earth, she told Lieutenant Parker. Operation Exodus has begun. Within a week, something unprecedented happened across Alliance space. Humans vanished. Not dramatically or chaotically. They simply left. Human traders settled their accounts and packed their goods. Human scientists collected their research and equipment. Human tourists cut their trips short. On the Zordak's homeworld, High Commander Kivex presided over an emergency council meeting, looking unimpressed by the reports. This theatrical exit is clearly a human attempt to force concessions, he rumbled, his gravelly voice echoing in the chamber. They expect us to plead for their return. Elder Trivak of the Mithrani shook his head, his iridescent scales catching the light. We should establish communication channels. The humans contribute more than you acknowledge. Such as, snorted Kivex. 15% of medical research breakthroughs in the past 5 years, replied Trivak. Nearly 20% of agricultural trade innovations. Their artistic contributions have become quite popular across multiple sectors. An Alliance economic analyst stepped forward with a data projection hovering before her. Early projections indicate trade revenue could decline by 17% without human markets. Additionally, several specialized minerals sourced primarily from human mining colonies will become scarce. Kivex dismissed this with a wave of his massive hand. Let them sulk in their corner of the galaxy. They'll discover how desperately they need our protection when raiders begin targeting their unprotected colonies. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Isabella Rodriguez addressed the United Nations General Assembly. Screens around the world showed her resolute expression as she spoke. For too long, humanity has been relegated to the status of galactic afterthought, she said firmly. Today, we choose self-determination over condescension. The chamber erupted in applause. Later in her office overlooking the rebuilt Manhattan skyline, Rodriguez met with Ambassador Chen and Defense Secretary General Zhang. All our people have withdrawn from Alliance space, Elena reported. Phase 1 is complete. Zhang handed the president a secure tablet displaying complex schematics. The Alliance believes we're defenseless. They have no knowledge of the Aegis fleet we've been constructing in the asteroid belt for the past decade. Rodriguez studied the plans. How long until Project Quantum Shield is operational? 8 months, said John. Possibly sooner now that we can work openly. And Project Transcendence? Rodriguez asked, turning to Elena. The ambassador smiled slightly. Dr. Wong reports that his team is already relocating to the Europa facility. They believe a breakthrough could come within weeks rather than years. Good, Rodriguez nodded, looking out at the evening sunlight glinting off the East River. The Alliance thinks we left because we're weak and frightened. She turned back to her two most trusted advisors, determination hardening her features. Let them think that. For now. On Mars, construction lights blazed across the Valles Marineris as thousands of workers assembled massive structures hidden from Earth's view. In underground laboratories on Europa, Dr. Marcus Wong led a team of scientists gathered around a device that bent space in ways the Alliance had deemed theoretically impossible. They said this couldn't be done, Wong told his exhausted but excited team. Let's prove them wrong. And across human space, from Luna to the mining colonies of Proxima Centauri, people waited, prepared, and worked toward whatever would come next. The revelation. 6 months after humanity's dramatic exit from the Galactic Alliance, most alien species had barely noticed the change. Humans had always existed on the periphery of galactic society, curious newcomers whose significance was largely overlooked. Then the strange reports began to reach the Alliance Council. In the Council's main chamber, Chief Security Officer Selveric projected holographic images showing an empty sector of space near what had once been human shipping lanes. This is where the Drex Raider fleet was last detected, she said, her scaled finger pointing to a pulsing marker. 43 ships, all vanished without a trace. High Commander Kivex of the Zordax Defense Force leaned forward, his massive bulk shifting uncomfortably. When? 3 weeks ago, replied Excel Varick, her feathered crest flat against her skull, a sign of concern among her species. And they aren't the only ones. 4 other raider groups known to prey on the edges of what is now human space have disappeared. Murmurs filled the chamber. Raiders were a persistent problem throughout the galaxy. No species had ever managed to completely eliminate them. Perhaps they simply relocated to more profitable territories, suggested a council member. Zelveric shook her head. Our intelligence suggests otherwise. The holographic display shifted to show a small planet with primitive settlements. This is Tyrannus IV, home to a pre-spaceflight species that was under human protection before they left the Alliance. The image zoomed to show new structures surrounding the primitive settlements. These are planetary defense shields, Zelveric continued, with technology far beyond what this species could develop for at least another 3 centuries. The chamber grew silent as the implications became clear. Someone has been helping them, said Elder Trivak of the Mithrani. Someone with advanced technology, added another council member. Humans, Kivek said with a dismissive grunt. They're violating Alliance law by sharing technology with primitive species. They're no longer bound by Alliance law, Trivak reminded him. They left, remember. At the edge of what was now referred to as human space, an Alliance scout ship drifted quietly, running on minimal power to avoid detection. Captain Nevrek watched his sensor displays with intense concentration. Anything? He asked his science officer. Strange energy signatures, Captain. Unlike anything in our database. Suddenly, a small ship appeared seemingly out of nowhere, passing within kilometers of their position. It was clearly of human design, but sleeker than any human vessel on record. Before they could react, it vanished again, not with the familiar flash and distortion of a jump drive, but simply disappeared. Did you record that? Nevrek demanded. The science officer nodded, her hands trembling slightly. Captain, according to our readings, that ship didn't use conventional FTL technology. It somehow folded space. Nevrek's skin paled. Impossible. That technology is theoretical at best. Even the Zordax haven't mastered it. The humans apparently have. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Wong stood beside President Rodriguez as they watched the activation of the first quantum shield over the New York metropolitan area. The air shimmered briefly, then returned to normal, though sensors confirmed the invisible barrier now enclosing the city. 1 month ahead of schedule, Rodriguez noted with approval. We've always worked best under pressure, Wong replied with a slight smile. The shields over all major Earth cities will be operational within 2 weeks. Colony worlds will follow shortly after. and Project Transcendence. Wang's smile widened. Perhaps you should see for yourself, Madam President. In a secure facility beneath the Europa ice sheet, Rodriguez stood in awe before what appeared to be a simple metal archway. Scientists moved purposefully around complex equipment, making final adjustments. "Is that it?" she asked, sounding unimpressed. "Don't let appearances deceive you," Wang replied. "What you're looking at is the culmination of 15 years of theoretical research and development, work we could only pursue in secret because the Alliance would have forbidden it. What exactly does it do?" Wang gestured, and a technician activated a sequence. The air within the archway rippled like water, then stabilized into what looked like a window. Except it showed a view of Mars, the distinct shape of Olympus Mons clearly visible. "It creates stable wormholes," Wang explained. "Instantaneous travel between any 2 points, regardless of distance." Rodriguez's eyes widened. The Alliance said this was impossible. The Alliance said many things were impossible. Wang touched a control, and the view shifted to show the rings of Saturn, then the icy surface of Pluto, then the Alpha Centauri system. They were wrong. Meanwhile, in Alliance space, panic was beginning to set in. Trade routes near human territories reported strange phenomena. Ships disappearing only to reappear days later with no crew aboard, mysterious energy signatures that defied analysis, and unidentified vessels that appeared and vanished without using known propulsion methods. An emergency session of the full Alliance Council was called. Representatives from all member species attended, many traveling for weeks to reach the central station. High Commander Kivex now looked considerably less dismissive as he addressed the assembly. "Our scout ships have confirmed that the humans have somehow developed technologies we believe to be centuries beyond their capabilities." Holographic displays showed images captured by Alliance vessels, Earth surrounded by an energy field that scattered sensor readings, human colonies protected by similar barriers, small, fast ships using unknown propulsion systems. "How is this possible?" demanded a Eutheri representative, feathers bristling with agitation. They were a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel when they joined the Alliance. Elder Travak's expression remained calm, though his scales had dulled, a sign of deep concern among his kind. "Perhaps we underestimated them." "Or perhaps," added XL Varick, "they were never as primitive as they led us to believe." The implications of this statement rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. "Are you suggesting they deceived us for 20 years? Kivex rumbled, his massive form tensing. "Not necessarily deceived," Travak said thoughtfully, "but they certainly withheld their true potential." "What do they want?" asked another council member, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Before anyone could respond, the communication systems activated unexpectedly. A human face appeared on the main display, Ambassador Elena Chen. "Greetings, Alliance Council," she said, her expression professional but with an undercurrent of satisfaction. "I trust our absence has been noted." Vorlath, the speaker, recovered quickly from his surprise. "Ambassador Chen, your transmission is unexpected, yet necessary," she replied. "I'm contacting you to inform the Alliance that Earth has established a new interstellar organization, the Terran Cooperative. Several non-Alliance worlds have already joined us." Images appeared showing various alien civilizations, most formerly under human protection or outside Alliance space, now working alongside humans, benefiting from technologies the Alliance had deemed too dangerous to share. "What is the meaning of this?" Kivex demanded. "You're disrupting the established order of the galaxy." Elena's expression hardened slightly. The established order served the founding species of the Alliance while keeping newcomers subordinate. We've chosen a different path, one of true cooperation and shared advancement. You're offering forbidden technologies to primitive species, Vorlath accused. "We're offering partnership without condescension," Elena corrected. "And we've discovered something interesting. When treated as equals, these primitive species contribute remarkable innovations of their own." The chamber erupted in protests and arguments. Alina waited patiently until Vorlath restored order. "What do you want, Ambassador?" the speaker finally asked. "Nothing from the Alliance," Alina replied simply. "Our message is not a negotiation but a courtesy. The borders of Terran cooperative space are now closed to unauthorized Alliance vessels. We have eliminated the raider threats in our region and established stable, peaceful communities. You cannot simply redraw the map of the galaxy." Kvex thundered. Alina's smile was small but unmistakable. "We already have. The Alliance dismissed humanity as inconsequential. That was your mistake." "Are you threatening us?" Vorlath asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Not at all," Alina assured him. "We seek peaceful coexistence, just not on your terms. The cooperative will defend its members and interests, but we have no expansionist intentions." She paused, looking directly at the Council. "We simply want what we always wanted, to find our own way among the stars." The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Later, Elder Trevak found himself in a private meeting with Speaker Vorlath and several other senior council members. "We underestimated them," Trevak said quietly. "Perhaps fatally." "What do you suggest?" Vorlath asked, all traces of his earlier condescension gone. "We must adapt. The galaxy has changed, whether we wish it or not." Trevak's scales shimmered with resignation. "The humans never needed our protection. They simply gave us the opportunity to be their allies." "And now?" asked another council member. Trevak looked at the holographic display, showing the expanding borders of the Terran cooperative. "Now we must hope they'll give us that opportunity again, but this time as equals." On Earth, Alina Chen reported to President Rodriguez on the Alliance's reaction. "Exactly as we expected," she concluded. "Confusion, followed by outrage, followed by the beginning of acceptance." Rodriguez nodded, looking out at the New York skyline, where the faint shimmer of the quantum shield occasionally caught the sunlight. "And now?" "Now," Alina said, "we build something better than what they offered us. We need to prove that our way, partnership without hierarchy, works better than their millennia of tradition." "Do you think they'll ever understand why we left?" Rodriguez asked. Alina considered this. "Some already do. The others," she smiled. "The others will learn. Humans aren't the only species capable of adaptation." Across what was now cooperative space, humans worked alongside a dozen alien species, some formerly overlooked by the Alliance, others who had maintained independence, building networks of instant transportation hubs, sharing medical breakthroughs, and establishing defensive systems that had already eliminated piracy in their regions. And on a small planet once deemed too primitive for Alliance membership, children of 3 different species played together beneath the protective dome of a shield generator, while their parents worked in laboratories developing technologies that even the Alliance's founding races had never imagined. The humans had left without a word, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy forever.